Reprogram yourself. Reprogram yourself. That brings me back to a time when I was 21 years old, headed into the United States military, the Navy, right? And I can remember I was a skinny kid who was lacking discipline, who was kind of lost about where he wanted to be in life, what he wanted to do, and things like that, right? So whenever I joined the Navy, right, and I was shipped off to boot camp, that was the first time in my life that I was introduced to a new program outside of my upbringing, okay? And in that process, that's where I learned that accountability is everything, right? Because if you are not operating solely from a place of purity, you won't last long in whatever it is that you're doing. All right? Most of us are constantly updating our phones software. We are constantly upgrading our homes, our cars, our clothes, shoes, and nothing is wrong with that. But what's wrong is that most of us upgrade our material, but we don't upgrade our mental. And that's where a lot of us are losing at, right? Because we don't want to upgrade what we know we should be upgrading, because it's much harder to upgrade than it is to do your phone, right? And that there is really important. Now, get back to boot camp where I was, introduced to a new program, and my time in boot camp was spent doing repetition, right? It was spent doing things repetitively, getting dressed repetitively, right? Drinking water repetitively, right? Doing the exact same thing over and over and over. And to be honest, it was quite boring. But when I graduated, I understood why we had to go through the boredom. I understood why we had to go through the lack. I understood why we had to cut off from the world, right? And only listen to one teacher. Even though we had 3 instructors, they were all basically the same. They were following the same program, right? So whenever I came back out into the world, quote unquote, right, being discharged, that kind of put me back in a place where I understood that I need to program. Every day I get up, I need a program, right? You need to get up, you need to set your day up with high vibrational activities. So that means getting up, writing in your gratitude journal. After you do that, you want to meditate. After you do that, you want to do affirmations. After you do that, right, you want to go and work out. Why? Because that lifts your vibration, that lifts your spirit. And most people, when they wake up these days, right, they hop straight on their phones and they see things that put them in a state of anxiety for the rest of the day. And so, being that they possess anxiety and negativity from getting on their phone first thing in the morning, they go throughout their day anxious and looking at everything negative, right? So remember, what you possess, that's what the world's going to reflect. So get up in the morning, right, and program yourself before the world programs you. That's what the Navy told me, right, or taught me, was that you have to program yourself. That way, whenever you go into work, you can work, right? You can focus on the mission. You can be an asset to your shop or to whatever department you belong in at your duty station, right? So I take that now into my life. I remember being in lack, right? I didn't have a phone. I couldn't communicate with the outside world. I couldn't call home as much as I would like to, right? We had breaks where they would let us phone home or whatever. But the thing was, they stripped us away from all that. Why? So they can install a new software in our brain, right? So most guys now are feeling stuck. And the reason for that is because they don't have a program that allows them to raise their vibration where it needs to be. So whenever you are faced with an obstacle in the day, being that you program yourself in the morning, it's going to be much easier to look at the obstacle and figure out a way to go around the obstacle, go through the obstacle, or go over the obstacle. But nonetheless, you have to reprogram your mind in order to do that. And reprogramming your mind is stripping yourself from the world, getting rid of your old beliefs, your old limited beliefs. Sometimes getting rid of environmental factors, right? Hanging out with certain friends that might not be on the same path that you on. That don't mean that you disown them. That don't mean that you forget about them, right? It just means that you now are focused and you are now forging a path to where you can be free, right? You have to program yourself every day you get up, because if you don't program yourself, the world mind is going to program you. And now you're going to be acting like the world when you should be acting as yourself. Come on, guys, you got to get it together. You got to look at what you're doing wrong, and you got to look at what you're ashamed of, right? Because that's going to allow you to see, right, and think where it is you need to pick up, where it is you need to get better. And for me, whenever I was going through a time of depression, it was because I wasn't programming myself, and I was allowing my circumstances to make me feel like a victim. Guys, we all go through that. We all go through where we might feel a certain way about a situation. But you have to program yourself to be able to handle any situation that comes to you. You have to be ready. Don't get ready. You have to be ready. So program yourself and stop wasting time. Get to it.